I've always heard that it was like over $1,500 a month. I don't know how true it is.
And that will fluctuate. The more events you have out there, the higher you're gonna pay, obviously, but we will look at the metered peak demand of the community center and all the other commercial customers, and we'll slot it into the appropriate category. And it is possible over time for customers to move from one category to the next. If you look at the hospital out here, and they're in the large commercial category, let's, for example, but they decide to double in size. You know, they add on, they add some new equipment, that might push them to the next category. Well, we have triggers in place to review that and say, oh, look, you've gone from this category to this category, you're now gonna be billed at a new rate.
And I know y'all go about, like when the cutoffs, once it gets, it's late, that day, that's when you cut off?
No, not necessarily. Right now, all bills are due on the 10th of the month. Every customer in the Phelps system, your bill is due on the 10th of the month. And if you don't pay by the 10th, on the 11th, we'll assess a late penalty, like we do. And you have 10 working days after that before 12 working days after that before we put you eligible for disconnection. So if you don't make the due date on the 10th, you still have almost 2 full weeks to make your payment with a penalty before you're subject to cutoff.
Try to put a door no more like that, used to put a.
No, we make automated outbound calls to their customers to say.
But they are notified that before they cut off.
Well, they get a bill, everybody gets a bill.
I know they're notified.
After the 10th, they get a late notice in the mail, and then the day before cutoff, they get a phone call. So by the time we've gone out to cut somebody off in the field, they've had 3 notifications of their bill being due. 2 by mail and 1 by phone.
I had heard from a couple of citizens, they said, no, they don't put up with that. Once the late notice goes, and the date is, I remember, I had a few, like in the old days. They go out and put, that you owe this amount of money, with a $10, I think, fee, whatever. But some of the residents were saying, no, they cut you off. And I was kind of more just concerned about the citizens, the senior citizens that maybe in the winter time they're old and, I mean.
No, by the time we actually cut somebody off, you are more than 2 weeks past your due date, and you've been given 3 notifications of it. So it's not like it's due on the 10th, if you don't pay, we're out there on the 11th to cut you off. That's not how we operate.
This just brings to mind, what if somebody's on oxygen or something like that?
Well, we do have a medical alert, or medical list that we keep, and we keep it in our system. And any customer who, but we do require some doctor's certifications to be on this list. Because unfortunately, we do have some shysters out there. Yeah, we do have medical alert.
So for a new customer that comes in with the request for a connect, are they given a rate right away, or is there?
Well, we'll have to assess it. If it's a construction site, for example, like I'll use Richardson Chevrolet out there. They have a construction trailer out there in Carlson, out my house. So we will put them initially on the small commercial rate, because it's not a residence, it's one commercial. We'll build them on a small commercial rate. After the construction trailer's gone, we tie in a permanent service, the dealership is going full bore, we will make an estimate of what rate we think they need to be on based on their load calculation, engineer studies, and things of that nature. And we'll most likely put them in the medium category. After 2 or 3 months worth of billing, we'll look at, again, oh man, they're not using hardly any electricity, we'll move them down to small, or, oh, they're using much more than we thought, we need to go to large. But we're not just gonna blindly assess them a rate when I think that we go, and then just let it ride, because that's kind of what we're doing now. That's where we found a lot of these. I said, why on earth is this customer in this category? And we look back to the records, and well, that's what so-and-so said they needed to be on in 1998, and that's just where they stayed. We're getting a new utility billing software system in the process of doing that will make this a lot easier to determine which class each customer needs to be in. So we can go through the rest of it quickly. A lot of this was just cleanup. You see we have a security lighting, electric tariff.
The security, is that our street lights?
No, and the next one you'll see is city lighting services. What we have is that everything lumped in the same category. The lights that are in the various owner cities, and the same as what the customers are putting in their backyards and their pens and their barns and things like that. Well, so what we've done is we've clearly defined what the customer's going to pay to have a security light on their property, turn the page where the cities will pay for their lights, and the cities are paying, the cities are getting a discount on their street lights compared to what citizens will get. And that's carried over from the previous infrastructure that we had before. And then the last part you see is called Appendix A. There's just 3 or 4 headings under Appendix A, maybe 5. that apply to every rate class. And so instead of taking all this information that was on here on these 3 pages and replicating it, we put on there, please reference appendix A. And they all fit into this. And then you say appendix B is what's called distributed generation rider. This is for our customers who want to put a solar panel on their home or a wind turbine in their backyard. This outlines the rates and the requirements that we have for customers to do that. And then the very last page you see is just appendix C. We put in all of the Phelps holidays and times that we might be closed in case a due date, like you mentioned, the 10th, falls on Good Friday. Well, we're not going to go demand people come in on Good Friday when the office is closed and say, you're going to get a penalty. And they go, well, I tried to pay on the 10th, but you were closed. It just kind of outlines, we'll roll it to the next working day. Or, and I put in there, or if we have inclement weather, we get an ice storm like we had, we got to shut down the office and it's the due date of the 10th. I don't want people to think they're going to get out of their house, fight the ice to come pay their bills for avoid the late fees. So, well, I know we covered a lot of information, blew through that really quickly, and we are at the 6:30 hour. So we can do a couple things. What we did with the Phelps board, and this seemed to work well for them, is we let them take these rates home with them, look at them, talk to people, talk to their constituents, come back for another workshop here in a week or 10 days or whenever works in everyone's calendar, and they give you time to present more questions to us and we have a little bit more back and forth. And it won't just be me up here talking at you. It'll be you guys coming back with questions and concerns that we can address. But what this rate structure does is just to let you know, it does account for a 3% increase in rates across the board. Some rate classes will see a 3% increase, some will see a little more than a 3% increase, some will see less than 3%. But when you look at the total dollars that we're going to gain off the new rate structure, it will account for 3% higher than what we're currently gaining right now. And again, that's just in preparation for the time we're going to issue bonds later this year for our capital projects and debt going forward. I'm out of breath. So.
Any more discussion?
I think it's a great rate study. I definitely agree with the different tariffs and the segmentation of them. It makes sense for, you got a small business who, the largest amount of their menu is $12 versus a company that can sell you something that's $25,000. It's consuming more energy. Then definitely makes sense.
Nothing was done
Yeah.
in 20 years,
Yeah, so definitely agree with the segmentation. You got to dig in more to actual rates. If you said the 3% increase across the board.
And as council members, if you get questions, one of the messaging for this rate structure that we're proposing and the new rate, even with the rate increases, is very friendly to the residents and the small commercial. It is very friendly to them. It's not to say it's unfriendly for the others, but it's especially friendly for the
But you've
residents.
understood at the same time, you're not driving somebody out of here, or
We don't feel that we are.
Exactly.
We don't feel that we are. And by making the different rate classes allows you to kind of take some of that peanut butter it out a little bit instead of really sticking it to. If we'd left every commercial customer in the same category, whether they were Scoops or the hospital, then yeah, you end up sticking it to somebody. You do it that way. But when you segment it and break it out, make it more granular, you can get, this is what it costs.
From a cost of service perspective, in a perfect world, you have a rate for every customer, or you consider that 15,000 rates. So that's not manageable, but the more you segment it, the better it is for your customers, because they're actually paying what it's costing you to serve them. So.
And another big picture is that without this declining block, these rates are much simpler, much easier to explain. I use 1,000 kilowatt hours, well, that's 1,000 times the PCRF, plus 1,000 times the rate, plus the customer charge, that's my bill, period. It's not 200 at this rate, the next 400 at this rate, the next 400 at this rate, plus the weight of the PCR, it's very complicated. You ask our customer service reps, when they call in and say, will you please explain my bill, they start going, oh.
Now, council isn't just voting on the rate, or are they just voting on the rate? Or because, what I'm saying is, what I'm asking is, whether it's 0 or 4% increase, it's the structure is still going to go into play.
We would recommend to council that you accept the structure and the proposed rate increase. If council decides that you would not like to grant a full 3% rate increase, we can work with that, but what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come back and do some more work on this. It's going to change, obviously change the numbers if we are denied the full 3%. And then, of course, from there, we'll have to change our financial forecast and change some of the things that we think, some of the projects we have built for the future. We're always going to see which one of those have to be scaled back or cut out. So But quite honestly, Eric, we're at the will of the council. If you don't like this structure at all, and you want us to stay at the same structure, that's the will of the council to direct us to do that. If you don't like the 3% increase, you say you only want 2, or if you think, no, why don't we give you 4 so you can really do some good projects, we can work that out. Think about that? So,
All right.
But again, there's no action taken tonight. This is just a workshop.
No, I understand. I was just, it was just a clarification as to
It is.
whether the rate structure would still go into play, whether or not, there was an increase.
We'll need an approval from the council on the rate structure and the rates as presented.
Okay.
And we'll get those to however you want us to have those presented. Well, we're glad to do it. We'll work with the mayor and Ms. Turner to get us the next round of meetings scheduled before winter too. So. Good to see you tonight.
I've never worked so hard in my life.
Tonight, I think it's tonight, the regular meeting starts. We don't want to put some kind of meeting Thursday, not knowing what's going to happen tonight. Yeah, but we'll get on the next meeting agenda. Or we can have another workshop.
I want to see that note on the agenda for something.
I don't believe so. Maybe for tonight or Thursday.